Perché ci sono gli scaffali della pasta vuoti? Ma che cosa sta succedendo? Manco quando è scoppiata la seconda guerra mondiale c'era stato un panico così. Mamma mia.
Mamma mia. Can a man buy some pasta, per favore?
Mamma mia.
These are some interesting times we live in, folks. We are in the middle of a global pandemic with a shadow of another economic collapse just looming around the corner. Add some floods and locusts and this might turn into biblical. The outbreak, which started in the city of Wuhan in China, not only has infected human cells but also has infected our social life, our economy, our mass media and our day-to-day routine. Flights are being cancelled, cities are going on lockdown, big events are being cancelled like Eurovision and there's no end in sight. Our news outlets have turned into this monstrous fear-mongering hype trains and yes, I get it, fear sells. But this fear has also caused a lot of different little outbreaks like hate and racism and xenophobia. And yes, of course, fear of missing out some life-essential toilet paper.
Hello, boys. Find everything you need?
Yep, all set.
Okay, let's see here. Toilet paper? Toilet paper? Toilet paper? Toilet paper?
I really don't understand what people are doing. You do not need to panic over toilet paper.
I do not aim to cause any further panic, only to observe the situation and educate myself as much as possible, and hopefully you guys as well. Because I am privileged enough that I can work from home and observe things from afar, and with so much information at our fingertips, I wanted to dive deep into this situation at the beginning of 2020 and answer as much as questions as possible. Questions like what is a pandemic, what are the biggest disease outbreaks in history and what have they taught us? How do outbreaks affect us in different ways and what can we actually do to survive them? And what is COVID-19 and how we can handle the situation or how can we benefit from the current situation? And lots of small questions like when will it all end? What happens when we get corona twice? And yes, of course, what happens if we don't have enough toilet paper anymore? Now I have to say this, my channel's aim is not to jump on the latest trends or jump on hype trains. I do not want to cover these viral situation topics. I want to do my own thing. Because now the average day looks like this. And since I was asked to work from home, I realized that it would be quite strange for me to make just another video about memory palace or importance of mathematics and ignoring the current climate. I want to take this opportunity and learn as much as I can about panics and pandemics and diseases, because you can demystify something by studying it, and in turn that dilutes the fear and gives back you some sense of security and control. And that's what I wanna offer you, dear viewer, the feeling of security and control, especially now when governments are calling all the shots. I haven't much thought about plagues and outbreaks and bacteria and viruses outside the field of fiction. Like movies, series, video games. I've mostly seen zombies, and you know, zombies are cool, but not that cool if they're really running around here, am I right? So I've taken some time to absorb all the different types of info and filtered out only the most relevant information that every human being needs during a pandemic. So let's start with the basics. What is infections, what is pandemic, what is epidemic, and what is endemic? Infection is when some organism's body tissue is invaded by some disease-causing agent. Usually through mouth, nose, eyes, skin, blood, sexual contact and through food or water. Then this little bastard multiplies and the host reacts to the toxins that the agent produces. Now the infections can be viruses, bacteria, fungi, parasites or arthropods like ticks, mites, fleas and lice. Now we fight infections with antibiotics, antiviral, antifungal and other such anti-medicine. We will focus on bacterial and viral infections since these have been more relevant. They both might have similar symptoms of a runny nose, cough and fever, but they are very different. Bacteria are living cells. They eat, move around, reproduce and do other things other larger living things do. Viruses, on the other hand, are tiny pieces of genetic code that hack cells and reprogram them to make more viruses. Viruses attack many different parts of the body, while bacterial infection localizes in one specific part. Only a few viral infections are painful, like herpes. Bacterial infection causes swelling and pain that occurs at the site of the infection. Bacteria can be cured by antibiotics, but viral cannot. Taking antibiotics when you don't have a bad bacteria inside you will only do you harm by killing the good bacteria. And that's why it's very important to be diagnosed what type of infection you have in order to cure it properly. But so in case of viral infection, you can take some antiviral medicine, but you can also let your body's natural immune system take care of it while you are taking plenty of rest. And do remember, we are surrounded by different types of bacteria and viruses, and some of them are beneficial for you, like the bacteria in your gut that breaks down your food. Now, just a quick aside for our immune system, and I want to applaud it because such a complex and beautiful machine, and one could study it for years and years and years and years. But sure, what happens when your organism gets infected is that the bad agent has an upper hand. It starts to wreak havoc, and only when it's discovered our immune system starts to fight back by slowly rolling out the proper troops. And here's when you will start feel something. Your body temperature will rise, which helps the immune system function better and creates a more hostile environment for the virus. Now you make some snot and phlegm, which makes it harder for the virus to attach themselves to your cells and get rid of dead viruses and immune cells as well. You will feel weak and tired as your immune system starts to prioritize energy to fight off the virus and not your everyday activities. That's why it's important to sleep and rest. Your bones might ache because they are making more white blood cells, which are involved in protecting the body. So all you can do sometimes is just eat healthy foods, take lots of vitamins, drink lots of water, and settle down in some low-stress environment and get plenty of rest. And let your army take care of things. But they need your support. So let us continue. What is pandemic? What is epidemic? Endemic? These words come from Greek. Endemic means in people, epidemic is above people, and pandemic is all people. Now, we have mostly heard about epidemics and pandemics. Epidemic is a rapid spread of disease to a large number of people in a short period of time. So outbreak and epidemic can be used interchangeably. It's a disease which has grown out of control. Pandemic is a disease epidemic that has spread across a large region, like multiple countries or continents. Endemic. Now, infection is considered endemic when the disease is maintained in a geographic area without external inputs. For example, malaria or AIDS is an endemic in many African countries, but not so much in the UK. So the bad agent lacks a suitable vector to infect other organisms outside its area. And a vector is something that carries the infectious pathogen into another living organism. We will now focus on pandemics, which is really relevant to the current situation, unfortunately. Now, there have been many outbreaks in the past, pandemics, and I will list the deadlier ones on screen, deadlier ones which had the death toll of millions in a short span of time. There have been over 100 different outbreaks, but these are the biggest ones. The first one was Antonine Plague, which struck the Roman Empire at the years 165 to 180, which claimed the lives of 5 to 10 million people, and it was caused by a virus. Then there was a plague of Justinian, which struck Europe, Egypt and West Asia in the years of 541 to 542, so just in 1 year, which claimed the lives of 25 to 50 million people. That's over 40% of the areas, and it was caused by bacteria. Then there was Black Death. Europe, Asia, North America were all affected. During the years of 1331 to 1353, 75 to 200 million people, some estimate. So that's like 20 to 60% of population died. And it was caused by a bacteria. Coccolizli epidemic in Mexico. 1545 to 1548, 5 to 15 million dead. That's 80% of the area, caused by a bacteria. Then Spanish flu, which affected people worldwide from 1918 to 1920. 100 million people by a little virus. And then HIV/AIDS pandemic, which is worldwide, and it started from 1920 and it's going on to this present day. It has killed 33 million people. A little virus, it's a little tiny virus. There have been many tiny outbreaks, but these ones have had major effects on our planet. I'll briefly focus on the Black Death, or the Great Bubonic Plague, which in a brief time killed almost half the population of Europe during the Middle Ages. The infection was caused by a bacteria called Yersinia pestis, which was carried around by fleas or carried around by rats. When it came in contact with humans, it might have become airborne, which meant that you could infect other persons with just a breath or a cough or a mere touch. This bacteria targeted 3 areas. Now, bubonic plague targeted lymph nodes, which was the most common, where you get the egg or apple-sized bulbs on the skin that might burst open. Pneumonic plague targeted the lungs, and septicemic plague, rarest of the 3, went into the blood. At the time we had no knowledge of bacteria or viruses, so a lot of people thought it was the wrath of God, and people acted horrendously with one another. Mothers and fathers abandoned their children, lepers and Jews were blamed and killed, and houses with ill people in them were set burning. It increased the violence and revolts because human life was so cheap. Bodies littered the streets as there was almost no one to clean them up. Plague doctors back then tried numerous weird medical practices like snake blood or bloodletting and vinegar bath, which ended usually killing the patient quicker. Everyone was infected by it, old, young, poor and rich, monks, nuns, royalty and peasants. That's what's depicted in most of the art where death dances with all of us. Now back then people were mostly self-sufficient. They worked the land, they had no connections with the outside world. But now imagine this sort of a deadly plague in today's world, where people, we are so connected with one another, we are so reliant on the systems and one another. It would be total chaos. But some people did survive, and it is thought that the mortality rate is between 30 and 90%. So the people that lived had better immune systems. The plague returned again in 1368 and 1375 and 1382 and in 1390, but people kept living longer. Today as well, we have the plague still there, coming up sometimes here and there, but our immune systems are stronger. We have the medication, and maybe the bacteria is a different strain. The plague was so deadly, and although it wasn't so widely documented, we have learned so much from it, and we can use this knowledge when we step into the future and to new outbreaks. Now, there have been many other types of deadly viruses and bacteria out there, like smallpox, which is a virus and responsible for 300 to 500 million deaths. Tuberculosis, which is a bacteria, 1.5 million people died in 2014. Polio, which is a virus, 40s and 50s killed 500,000 people worldwide. Leprosy, bacteria, nasty stuff, Ebola virus, even nastier stuff. Malaria, which is a parasite, kills 500,000 people a year. COVID-19, a virus. So what is COVID-19, aka coronavirus, aka novel coronavirus? The name corona comes from Latin, corona meaning the crown, because under the electron microscope the virus actually looks like a crown. And since coronaviruses are actually a family of viruses with SARS and MERS, and they have similar effects to the new novel virus, novel meaning it has never been seen before and is therefore new, was named COVID-19. Now, CO stands for corona, V stands for virus, and D stands for disease. And 19 is the year 2019 it was first discovered. On March 11, 2020, World Health Organization officially upgraded COVID-19 to pandemic status. Since the beginning of the year, COVID-19 has spread to more than 114 countries and infected more than 100,000 people, and numbers are constantly going up. And yes, it has reached Greenland. So what does it do? Coronaviruses produce flu-like symptoms of coughing and sneezing and fevers, but can go up to SARS levels, which are bad pneumonias. Now, pneumonia means that your lung is inflamed and you have chest pains and find it difficulty to breathe. Most coronaviruses live in animals, but this one came from Wuhan fish market, where they were selling live animals. So first from an animal to human, and then from human to human. It's a new virus and we don't yet have immunity to it, as we know of. Incubation period, meaning when does it show itself, is between 2 to 14 days, averaging to 5 days. Best case, you don't feel a thing. Mild case, it's just a common cold. Worst case, it's killing your lung cells. But that mostly happens to the people whose immune system is already weak or damaged, like older people or people who receive chemotherapy, for example. It spreads to saliva, coughing, sneezing, and even breathing too closely. It's not a true airborne virus like measles, and it won't stay in the air for too long as it falls on the ground within just seconds, but it can stay on different surfaces up to 10 days even, averaging from 24 hours on a cardboard to 3 days on stainless steel, for example. So what's the good news about the virus? Well, it's not an unstoppable force. Actually, it's a little piece of code, an RNA code inside a fatty cell, which we call envelope. Now, because it's fatty, just a regular household soap kills it, because it's dissolving the fat and then the code has nowhere to go, it just destroys it. And also 70% alcohol dehydrates the envelope around it, which is also bad for the virus. But bad news that whiskey or vodka, which is only 40%, doesn't kill it. So don't go harming yourself too much with them, eh? And hand sanitizers, don't drink them as well, okay? Now, case fatality rate, which is simple percentage calculated, where you take a death count divided by the total number of cases and multiply it by 100, you get the mortality rate, which in this case is around 3.9%. But keep in mind that a lot of people in the world don't have severe symptoms and they don't seek out medical help, so they fly under the radar, which means this outbreak might not be that deadly at all. Johns Hopkins University suggests that in the end, CFR might be around 0.6%, and that comparing to the seasonal flu of 0.1%. It's not that bad. Doctors and experts are working around the clock and publishing research, which in the long run is an immense help to humanity. Best scientific minds are on the case in the time where we already know a lot more about the different outbreaks and have developed a huge number of different medicines which are being trialed at the moment. And our children are not seemingly being targeted at all, which in the case of bubonic plague, they died first, which is good news. I mean, good news that children are safe, you know, hooray, good to be a child. But as we live in the age of trolls and there's also a lot of misinformation out there, I wanted to address that one as well. So here's what people think. Some people think it does not spread in hot and humid conditions, or cold and snow kills it. Well, the thing is, your body temperature usually stays the same between 36 and 37 degrees without the outside conditions. So no, the virus inside you has a pretty nice space to chill around in. Warm baths or sauna kill it. Well, same thing, your body temperature stays the same, so... Some people think that spraying your body with chlorine or alcohol kills it. Well, it's inside you, so don't do it. It might hurt you. The pneumonia vaccines help. Well, they don't, because corona is a novel virus. Nobody has ever seen it before and it needs its own vaccine. Spraying your nose with salt solute will help against corona. No evidence found. Coronavirus remains in the throat for 4 days before reaching the lungs, so gargling water with salt and vinegar will kill it. No evidence found. Eating garlic protects against corona. Garlic is a healthy food that boosts up your immune system, but there are no evidence found that garlic actually kills it. But still, good for you. It might keep other people away from you. Antibiotics kill corona. Nope. Antibiotics will kill bacteria, not viruses. It's a coronavirus. So people also ask, will wearing a face mask help if I am healthy? No, it won't, because corona will still get in from the sides. It will help you stop touching your face, which is also good. But if you want to have a really good face mask, it's called N95, which a lot of doctors are using. But mostly face masks are for the sick people and not for the healthy. And no, toilet paper will not stop the spread of the disease. So stop hoarding, okay? And if you are one of the unlucky ones who have left without the sweet rolls, here's what some of the other people in the world use. So what do we do? Now that the world status level is pandemic, more like panic, what can you do to protect yourself and your family? Hygiene. Most important thing, wash your hands for 30 seconds as the soap dissolves the protective layer of the virus and mercilessly destroys the little bastard. After you've been outside and washed your hands. Don't forget to sanitize your phone, which is usually a petri dish of bacteria, because we usually touch the public surfaces and then the phone. Otherwise, it does not matter. It's easily removed from surfaces by simple home care products. If you are outside, avoid human contact as much as possible. Distance yourself 3 feet or 1 meter from others, better if more. Avoid crowds if possible. Go to the store at off-peak hours. Don't touch your mouth, nose or eyes if you have come in contact with lots of surfaces. And if you sneeze, cough, cover your face with your elbow. Hydrate and rest often to keep your immune system healthy. We all need to contribute, because we want to get through these things quickly, so the strain on the economy won't last too long. And it's called flattening the curve, which means that we can each help to control the spread of the virus, to help the healthcare system so the hospitals won't become overcrowded, and over time everyone gets the help they need. And remember, viruses needs us to spread. Without us, it doesn't have a host and it dies out. So we can drive it into extinction, at least. That's the dream. More questions I had about the COVID-19. When does it peak? No one knows, but some experts think that it might be in May or June. What happens when I recover from it? Well, there have been cases where people who've gotten well have contracted it again, but that might have been a rare case. Usually we build up antibodies against infection and become somewhat immune. Is COVID-19 more dangerous than the flu? It's true that influenza kills far more people in season, but the new coronavirus just has so many variables we just don't know about. Only time will tell when we learn more. So far it seems like it's just a little cold with a heavy spread due to the panic. And now, pregnant women and COVID-19. I have found some articles claiming that infants don't get the virus from mothers, nor do they get it from the breast milk. Mothers should wear a mask and wash their hands often, and it should be fine. Further research is needed though. Hey guys, we will definitely beat this. It's only a question of time, but there are other concerns that came with the pandemic. Job losses, small businesses closing, big businesses struggling. People cannot earn money or spend money on small businesses, but rent has to be paid. Who will fill the gaps? There's a wider impact to the economy as a whole. Bill Gates said in his TED Talk many years ago that in the next outbreak we are not ready. Our systems are not ready, our infrastructure is not ready, the protocols are not ready, and he was right.
Today, the greatest risk of global catastrophe doesn't look like this. Instead, it looks like this. Now, part of the reason for this is that we have invested a huge amount in nuclear deterrence, but we've actually invested very little in a system to stop an epidemic. We're not ready for the next epidemic.
And then there are angry people everywhere. Vegans are angry and blaming the meat eaters. Business people are angry that the money is burning. Citizens are angry that the governments are not effective enough. People in general are angry and afraid of other people, even their own countrymen who are returning from abroad. Media outlets have been overrun by the news of the virus, and that's all that it is, and it's everywhere. Governments struggle to inform people before they take drastic actions, causing further confusion and chaos. And no modern economy has ever faced an event like this. And of course, with such events, people come up with all sorts of conspiracy theories, because some people want the life to be more interesting than it actually is. And some of the theories are: to speed up the economic collapse, the Wuhan outbreak was manually started. There's also an umbrella corporation located in China, and raccoon is an anagram for corona. China even officially claimed that US Army brought the virus to Wuhan. They have released the virus just to sell us the vaccine that does who knows what with us in the future. Alex Jones, favorite guy, he wants to sell us the toothpaste that kills the whole corona family in point blank rage. But maybe someday somebody will make a movie about it with Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and we will actually then find out what really happened. Now let's look at the positive things. This will definitely not be the last outbreak, and hopefully our governments and our agencies learn from it. We are massively educated on the bacterial and viral spreads and the importance of proper hygiene. The outbreak reveals the flaws in our systems like logistics, economic infrastructure, educational, etc. There might come new protocols that make future outbreaks easier to handle, just like antibodies in our system. We get to learn about different effects the outbreak brings on hate, racism, fear of missing out, and overall panic. We know how to deal with it later. We get some time off to think about life and health and what's really important in life. Feeling so globally connected. Big factories that were pumping CO2 into the atmosphere are now silent and the planet can breathe a bit. Bad for the workers though. Another positive thing, which is not so positive at the moment, is that the markets are crashing hard. And for some people who have never thought about investing, they might say that, oof, yeah, I'm so glad I didn't have my money there. And a lot of people have lost billions of dollars. But if you have ever thought about investing before, now is a good time to actually start, because the markets always recover. They always recover, and they need us to recover, because if people start investing, the markets will go up again. And right now everything is in a good price range. So if you have money to spare, if you don't really need to survive and struggle everyday life, just think about investing. So that's a good tip. Look for something that you always wanted to buy, some stock or something, and do it. Just do it. And finally, what's really good, this panic, as I said, it makes us globally more connected, and it focuses on here and now, on what's really important. And I want to be again thankful that it just seems to be just a common cold. It doesn't affect the children so much. And comparing to the things that our grandparents and great-grandparents had to face, or people in the Middle Ages, this is nothing. It's nothing. This is easy. As I was researching this and dealing with the death and the gruesome images and viruses and bacteria and everything, I was disgusted by nature. And then I became kind of numb to it. Then I became appreciative of our lives and the complexity of it all. If we just put our minds together, we can do anything. I mean, soon there will be a vaccine, and there will definitely be a cure. And then we'll face new challenges. Along the way, it would be cool if we could remain calm and just educate ourselves how each of us can help. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask me down below if I left anything out. Keep yourself safe, stay calm, think rationally, educate yourself, and this will all blow over soon, I'm pretty sure. I'm gonna have some pasta now. Mamma mia. Bye.